The Chinese government denies its existence. Guards are sworn to secrecy. The satellite images paint a deeply disturbing picture. Just 20 miles outside Beijing, a sleepy residential village has been razed to make space for the largest construction project in modern-day China, a highly classified military facility 10 times the size of the Pentagon. As the Chinese dig deeper than ever before, Western intelligence agencies ask themselves the worrying question: what were they preparing for? For decades, China's military leadership operated from facilities built during the depths of the Cold War. The Western Hills complex, carved into the mountains northeast of Beijing in the 1960s, represented the pinnacle of Mao-era military architecture. Over 300 feet underground, this bunker system served as the nerve center for China's armed forces since the 1969 border conflict with the Soviet Union. But by the end of the 2010s, the facility was showing its age, designed for a different era of warfare and inadequate for the military superpower China aspired to become. Around the same time, President Xi Jinping began setting ambitious timelines for transforming the People's Liberation Army into a world-class military force. By 2027, the centenary of the PLA's founding, Chinese forces are expected to possess the capability to take Taiwan. On the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic in 2049, China aims to field military capabilities that could challenge American dominance anywhere on Earth. As the new decade got underway, it became clear that China was taking the accomplishment of these goals seriously. Between 2020 and 2024, the nation's nuclear arsenal tripled from approximately 200 warheads to over 600 operational weapons. The Pentagon now estimates this figure could reach 1,500 by 2035, approaching parity with the United States. Simultaneously, China's Navy achieved numerical superiority over the U.S. fleet, while the Air Force rapidly modernized with indigenous aircraft and unmanned systems. Yet for all these advances, Chinese military planners recognized a critical vulnerability. Their command structure remained fragmented, housed in aging facilities that wouldn't survive a determined American first strike. The solution would require more than renovation. It demanded a complete reimagining of military command and control. This facility could integrate China's growing arsenal while protecting its leadership from the most sophisticated weapons in the American inventory. In February 2022, satellite imagery captured what appeared to be an unremarkable residential area north of the Chongqing Reservoir. Scattered houses dotted the landscape, alongside expanses of open farmland, a typical scene in Beijing's southwestern outskirts. Chinese authorities had given no indication that this quiet corner of the Xinglonghu area would soon become the epicenter of their military ambitions. 1 year later, new satellite images revealed that the transformation had begun. The landscape had been stripped bare, residential buildings demolished, fields cleared, and the earth scarred by the machinery of preparation. The Chinese government offered no explanation for the sudden evacuation of an entire community. Local residents simply found themselves relocated without fanfare, their former homes erased off the map. Yet it was clear this was no commercial real estate development. There were no showrooms for prospective buyers, no online publicity. Whatever it was, this was something far more significant. The true scope of the project became apparent in June 2024, when commercial satellites captured the construction site in full swing. What had once been peaceful countryside now resembled an industrial complex of extraordinary scale. The dimensions were staggering. Sprawling across 1,500 acres, the complex would encompass an area nearly 10 times larger than the Pentagon. Tunnels snaked beneath the surface, connecting excavation sites across a vast network of underground infrastructure. New roadways carved geometric patterns through the landscape, while security checkpoints appeared at strategic locations around the perimeter. At least 100 cranes operated simultaneously across 5 square kilometers, excavating massive subterranean chambers hundreds of meters below ground level. The huge volume of concrete, rivaling major dam projects, and specialized steel reinforcement indicated structures designed to survive the most devastating weapons in the American arsenal. Dozens of rooftop air handling units maintained precise atmospheric pressure throughout the complex, while specialized filtration systems ensured protection against chemical, biological, and radiological threats. An independent power plant provided redundant energy sources, capable of maintaining operations even if Beijing's electrical grid suffered catastrophic damage. Meanwhile, The construction timeline itself revealed the urgency behind the project. Major earthworks that would typically require several years were completed in months, suggesting a round-the-clock schedule with multiple ships working to accelerate completion. In January 2025, the Financial Times published a detailed investigation into the mysterious construction, dubbing it Beijing Military City, based on intelligence assessments. By then, the scale had become unmistakable. Former imagery analyst Rennie Babiars, who spent years studying similar facilities for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, recognized the telltale signs. As Babiars noted, the complex possessed, quote, all the hallmarks of a sensitive military facility. Despite the magnitude of the site, the Chinese government maintained complete silence about the facility's purpose, offering no acknowledgement that the construction even existed. Security around the site reflected its sensitive nature. Access roads to popular hiking trails were blocked, and warning signs prohibited drone flights and photography, while guards at checkpoints refused to discuss the project. Yet while the authorities could carefully control information on the ground, they couldn't hide what they were building from satellites. The facility's most critical function appears to be leadership protection during nuclear conflict. Unlike the aging Western Hills complex, Beijing Military City has been designed from the ground up from American bunker buster munitions, the most advanced earth-penetrating weapons in the U.S. arsenal. The GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, capable of destroying targets 200 feet underground, represents the pinnacle of American bunker-busting technology. Beijing Military City's depths suggest Chinese engineers have studied these weapons extensively and designed countermeasures that would allow the facility to survive even direct nuclear strikes. The timing of the project aligns perfectly with China's stated military objectives. As the PLA approaches its 2027 centenary, the completion of this command center would provide the secure infrastructure necessary to coordinate a multi-domain conflict across the Pacific, likely including an invasion of Taiwan. The facility's communication systems, protected by hundreds of feet of reinforced concrete and sophisticated electromagnetic shielding, would allow Chinese commanders to maintain operational control, even as American forces targeted traditional command nodes. Perhaps most concerning for Western strategists is what the facility reveals about Chinese nuclear doctrine. The existence of such a massive, hardened command center suggests Beijing may be moving away from its traditional no-first-use nuclear policy. A facility designed to survive nuclear warfare only makes strategic sense if Chinese leaders believe they might need to continue fighting after nuclear weapons have been employed. This represents a fundamental shift in Chinese strategic thinking, from deterrence through minimum retaliation to preparation for protracted nuclear conflict. Dennis Wilder, former head of China analysis for the CIA, warns that if confirmed, this facility, quote, signals Beijing's intent to build not only a world-class conventional force, but also an advanced nuclear warfighting capability. The psychological drivers behind this massive investment become clearer and viewed through the lens of Chinese strategic paranoia. Michael Beckley, assistant professor of political science at Tufts University, observed that Xi Jinping, quote, has said in his speeches that he's facing all-around encirclement by the West. And so this seems to be his way of trying to get ready to build a fortress, both around China, but also around himself. The emergence of Beijing Military City marks a dangerous new phase in great power competition. For the first time since the Cold War, two nuclear superpowers are actively preparing infrastructure for sustained warfare at the highest levels of escalation. The facility's completion would give China capabilities that even the Soviet Union never possessed. The ability to maintain centralized command and control throughout a nuclear exchange while coordinating global military operations from a position of relative invulnerability. Meanwhile, other nations are watching China's military expansion with growing concern and making their own preparations. Japan has announced plans to double its defense spending, while Australia is acquiring nuclear-powered submarines specifically to counter Chinese naval expansion. The construction of Beijing Military City will likely accelerate these trends as regional powers recognize that the era of American military dominance may be ending. As construction continues beneath the watchful eyes of surveillance satellites, the world faces an uncomfortable reality. The peaceful rise of China that many had hoped for appears to be ending. In its place stands a military superpower armed with nuclear weapons, protected by the most sophisticated command bunkers ever constructed, and led by officials who may no longer consider nuclear warfare unthinkable. The Cold War promised mutually assured destruction. Beijing Military City suggests China is preparing for mutually assured survival, with victory going to whoever can continue fighting longest after the bombs stop falling.